Ladies and gamers, every egregious online for the first time doing something fresh and new today. And what a day to do this, because PlayStation has just put out a bunch of trailers, and one of those trailers is the PS5 Pro. So we're finally going to see how the advancements in the next gen, or rather the current gen, is going. I've already peeked at a few talks and specs about this whole thing, but I didn't finish seeing the whole thing in its entirety, so you won't get a initial first reaction. But for anything that I didn't see or miss, then we're gonna all check it out for the first time. So without further ado, let's see how this thing goes. Ooh, slick. It looks exactly the same. It looks like they're giving us the digital version again. Oh, with a sleeker black line in the middle. High frame rate, 60 to 120. Advanced ray tracing. I heard that before. Now the ray tracing is advanced. The Pro. In a vertical stand. Why is the vertical stand so separate? So now we're going to jump right into the actual specs of the whole thing.
Hi, I'm Mark Cerny. I'm excited to be here to talk about the newest addition to our console lineup, PlayStation 5 Pro, and how it advances gaming technology. But first, I want to take just a minute to look at what we put in the original PlayStation 5 and how it delivers an exceptional gaming experience.
He has a very science guy voice.
When PS5 debuted in 2020, it brought a lot to the table. 8 Zen 2 CPU cores form the brains of PlayStation 5 and enable high-speed complex gameplay with character counts reaching into the hundreds.
Oh, tech heads out there.
And frame rates that can be as high as 120 frames a second.
English doc.
PS5 has a powerful RDNA 2 GPU, which can render anything from intricate details to fantastic worlds with vast panoramas to explore.
I'm probably gonna know.
Ray tracing allows for dramatic visual improvements, including reflections off of water or glass.
Yeah, I remember that.
And the realism that comes from real-time global illumination.
Oh,
Custom SSD can load data at breathtaking speed, resulting in ultra-fast transitions between game worlds.
The multiverse is still alive.
And data streaming rates so high that traversal speeds are essentially unlimited.
They're showing the games that I already finished.
Tempest 3 audio tech brings an unparalleled sense of immersion to the sound of the games.
So I can have myself a new
With audio
headset.
so real, you may not even need to see the enemies to know exactly where they are.
Oh, really?
Finally, the DualSense controller has haptics that let you feel through your hands what your character is experiencing inside of the game.
Same looking controller.
It's wonderful to see such variety and richness of game experiences. Creators have made amazing use of the hardware capabilities, but when I talk to them, I do hear about their desire for more graphics performance.
I can hear
the dreams of the developers are bigger than can be supported at 60 frames per second, and that leads to an aspect of modern gaming that we're all familiar with: graphics modes. It can be a difficult choice for players. Fidelity modes emphasize the visuals, typically through higher resolution rendering. These modes might also have enhanced detail or use more ray tracing.
Oh, so I can see.
But the games only run at 30 frames per second. The visuals can be choppier, and the controls less responsive. Performance modes emphasize frame rate and interactivity, typically choosing to run at 60 frames per second. Mainly by reducing the graphical detail until those frame rates can be achieved.
So do you want better graphics or
when
better...
asked to decide on the mode, players are choosing performance about 3/4 of the time. Removing that decision, or at least narrowing that divide, is one of the key targets for PlayStation 5 Pro. We want to give players the graphics that the game creators aspire to, at the high frame rates that players typically prefer. To do that, PS5 Pro substantially improves over PlayStation 5 in 3 ways. Here's what we call the Big Three.
The Big Three.
First, we made the GPU much larger and increased the speed of the memory it uses. The result is rendering that's up to 45% faster.
An English professor.
Second, we made major upgrades to the ray tracing, taking a streamlined and accelerated approach that allows calculation of the rays at double or even triple the speeds of PlayStation 5.
Some more.
And finally, we added custom hardware for machine learning and an AI library called PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution,
Oh, not AI.
or PSSR for short. PSSR analyzes the game images pixel by pixel and can add an extraordinary amount of detail, which boosts the effective resolution of the games. Game creators are adding PS5 Pro support to new and existing titles, and with the Big Three involved, the results can be pretty amazing, with graphics showing something like fidelity levels of detail, but at double the frame rate. Here's The Last of Us Part 2 running on PS5 Pro. It has huge amounts of detail and targets a super smooth 60 frames per second. Let's compare this to the fidelity mode on PS5, which is only running at 30 frames per second and is therefore much choppier.
Hopefully, my computer screen could try to catch all this.
This goal of delivering almost fidelity-like graphics at performance frame rates has been achieved for a broad set of titles, including Marvel's Spider-Man 2 and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. We can see that PS5 Pro is close to doubling the power of PlayStation 5. Another way to compare the two consoles is to look at PS5 Pro versus Performance mode on PS5, both of which target 60 frames per second. What we see here is a difference in detail. PS5 Pro is much sharper and crisper than PS5. For this, my favorite is the parade scene from Ratchet & Clank. Distant details are much clearer. And here we can see Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is noticeably higher resolution throughout the scene, including the trees and procedural cars.
He didn't get the traffic the exact same, but
so overall, some remarkable improvement to the games. On PS5 Pro, we can see increased sharpness to the graphics or smoother and more responsive gameplay. This is the Big Three showing their value. As you've been seeing, machine learning via the PSSR library is being used quite broadly to add pixel detail and boost frame rate. But there are as many approaches as there are game engines. The increase in raw GPU power is being especially effective for Horizon Forbidden West. Apart from the detail boost, that extra graphics power is allowing for improvements to lighting and visual effects, as well as to the hair and the skin in cinematics.
So does the hair
Open
just
up,
blow?
guys. Door source.
So does the hair just blow in the breeze now? What's going on?
Ray tracing is finding broad usage as well, particularly when the games are focused on higher frame rates. The faster hardware in PS5 Pro can make a real difference, allowing Gran Turismo 7 to add ray-traced reflections between the cars in gameplay, while continuing to support their targeted 60 frames per second. That boost in ray tracing is also delivering big wins for Hogwarts Legacy,
Ray tracing.
allowing not only for better reflections and a greater variety of reflective surfaces, but also for further realism in the casting of shadows. I hope you've enjoyed this run-through of the technology behind PlayStation 5 Pro. Simply put, it's the most powerful console we've ever built, and a worthy addition to the PS5 family. Let me wrap this up by giving you a quick look at a number of games running on the new console.
Okay, Steve, no jobs. I need to mute this. I don't want to get limited for the music use. These legendary. Come on. Boom, baby. Oh, that felt fancy. I'd love to see this song be like a pro. Alright, so I'm gonna assume that all this is just Actually, you know what? I'll try to hold my thoughts in. Because most of these games I don't even know by like dialogue standpoint, so I always prefer to hear what the dialogue talks when it comes to this type of stuff. Assuming that any music being played ain't going to hamper this video when I load it. Some of these games, if I really stare hard enough, they do look good. It would have been nice if I had this system months ago. When I finished like less than a third of these games. See, but $700 in November with the vertical stand sold separately. Okay, so my quick thoughts on this. Hold us. So let's back up for a second. Okay, so off the back, from what I heard already, is $700. Just like I tell most people, when it comes to Sony and Microsoft, there's no doubt about it that these two companies make good games. And primarily because they are a computer-based company first, so you expect that from them. So the look and feel and the sound and the visuals are always going to be going higher and higher and higher. Paying $200 more bucks for the Pro, that's basically the disc version, when the or rather, and not even the disc version, the non-disc version for $200 more bucks, when the current model is cheaper without the disc model, which I believe they have a disc port like sold separately. So you got to pay more money for that if you're still like a purist like me and prefer to use a game disc. And visually, yeah, the visuals are always going to be good. The sound, I guess they're going to encourage me to buy better headphones in the future. But in all honesty, depending on the games that you play, it's mostly like you're going to be too into the games. Depending on what's going on, you're going to be too into the games to actually really pay attention to the reflection in the water. Now for the whole Pro thing, you expect, in any console generation, you are going to expect the systems, when they get to that Pro state, to be smaller at the very least. And if they can up the graphics, then that is a bonus. So right now, PlayStation is following through with that by giving us a slimmer model, which is basically something that they already offered. But now the design is slightly different and everything is just all digital. I'm just paying more money for better graphics. That's pretty much all it is at the end of the day. That you're basically paying for like what the heck do they call that in the theaters? For like the laser ray RPX style of a movie theater experience when it comes to the sound, but visually everything is just going to be like full 4K HD like style. So if you're into that stuff, then any games will be good to play. More for anybody that's spectating. Now, everything I just seen, and from the few comments I heard from other people, there are a lot of people that I can tell that they're not really going to be like feeling this off the bag. Just like if you're into like the heavy specs on the computer aspect, that's all well and good, but at the end of the day, it's all just visual aspect. And this is something that I am a big fan of when it comes to the Nintendo company. Everything we just seen is perfect for the Nintendo. The Nintendo Switch is good right now. Everything that Nintendo make is always good. Why? Because Nintendos are innovators and they always focus on how the game is going to play out. Can we get away with it with the current style of graphics that we have? And then they could just try to progress forward from there, depending on what can they work with. So when we're talking about the next advancement in the current gen, Nintendo needs all this stuff because they already make good games, and everything that they and everything that they give us is always going to be copied and imitated by pretty much everybody else. Hence that PS5, like what the heck they call that? I am blanking on so much stuff right now. That that Wii U looking PlayStation thing that I can't remember right now. But so Nintendo definitely needs this kind of presentation. It's too bad we didn't get it for the direct, you know. So I mean, it is what it is. As of right now, I mean, me personally, I'm likely not gonna jump on this unless my system breaks. Then it says, all right, fine, whatever, you know. But as long as my current system is running, then I'm pretty much good. I'm pretty much good on everything else. Like the only other thing that I liked about this is the fact that it seems like that everything is going to be like much faster, so that will help with like the load time. So you know, just do so pretty much just do a one part of the game and then we could just jump right next to it. But that's pretty much all I can say in regards to me trying not to ramble for so long. But all in all, good specs and systems if you're into that. Not something that I'm gonna jump onto unless my system breaks, which hopefully it doesn't. And this is something that Nintendo needs, but Nintendo is doing so much good in sales right now. Like they're gonna take their sweet ass time by giving us a Switch 2 Pro or whatever the next one is gonna be. So with that, thank you guys for checking out my interpretation of what PlayStation has in store for us come November. I'm gonna try to pump out something similar to this in the future. You know, just trying to build up some more stuff on the channel. But until then, and this is Ebony Egregious, and I'm out. Deuces.